Hi, this is your host Swapnil Bhartiya, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk. And today we have with us once again Jack Aboutboul, Vice President for Product at Codenotary. Jack, it's great to have you on the show.
Hey, Swapno. Thanks. Great to be here.
Yeah, and today we are going to talk mostly about immuDB. It's an open source, of course, tamper-proof database which has cryptographic proof and verification kind of built into it. That's, I think, almost all that I know about it. But I want to hear from you. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so it's pretty much what you said. We're actually the world's fastest immutable database as well. And we just added a bunch of new features, which I think will make people very, very excited. But like you said, essentially, we're the world's fastest immutable database. Everything is cryptographically verified as well. So you basically have a history of your data as you work with it inside the database.
So if I ask as you explained, this database is, if I'm not wrong, meant for some specific use cases where you do not want any tampering to be done. When we look at the whole blockchain or ledger system, where once you
Yes,
create
correct.
so if you can talk about what are the use cases where it's being used or where it can be used or where it should be used.
Yes. So the great thing about this release is that we have full asset support now. So full transactional support. So you can actually use it as a replacement for any SQL database that you would normally have used in the past, which is a great part of this new release. So the use case is really, anything where you want to make sure that your data is there, that your data is cryptographically verified, that you're going to be able to see a history of your data and that it can't be tampered with. And, what we've seen so far is this works tremendously well for things like CI/CD, where you have things going on and you want to be able to store information about different components within your system or different parts of the build or different artifacts. And then you want to essentially be able to make sure that whatever you think is supposed to happen actually happened. So that's been one of the great use cases so far. And of course, really, I mean, there are so many. It's basically, like I said, anywhere that you want to make sure that your data is not being tampered with. I think that's the most important thing.
Excellent. I was going to talk about the latest release later, but since you brought it up, so let's just talk about that. Tell me what kind of new features, functionality. Of course, you mentioned some. I know that there's also added support for GDPR. So there's so much to talk about. But let's hear from you. Cherry pick some of the features that you like in this latest release.
Yes. So from the user's perspective, I would say that right now the really the biggest things are number one is that full asset support, and number two is the features of deletion and expiration. So that actually lets us support GDPR's right to be forgotten, basically. So if you think of an immutable database, once the data is in there, it's not supposed to leave. And so how do you deal with a situation where you have the right to be forgotten and the data needs to be removed from the database? So our expiration features, which basically lets you set timestamps on data which you want to expire at a certain point, that's now an option, and that lets us support GDPR. And we've already had a few people reach out and tell us just how interesting that feature is, and now it's possible for them to come into compliance due to the feature being available now. So we hope to see a lot of growth in that area, and that growth is certainly coming. And so that's great. One other thing from the usability perspective is that we also enhanced compatibility with SQL. So there's a lot of cleanup was done to make sure that when you're using SQL, first of all, more SQL primitives are supported, and then it just the interface is cleaner and it works better. A lot of it is under the hood, but that's there. And I think, another thing for the hardcore developers is that we have Golang standard library support now. So if anyone is using immuDB from Golang, the experience is really, really very, very much simplified from what it used to be. So this is kind of a release that's pulling together a few things from different parts of the user base, but it's kind of delivering something for everyone, which is something that we always like to see.
While, in the beginning you said, it's one of the fastest out there, but are there other databases, they also, deal with, this kind of, tamper-proof or, cryptographic? If there are, how different is immuDB from them? What gives you an advantage or edge over them?
Yeah, so first of all, our performance is amazing. The numbers are all, if you check out the GitHub page, there's some numbers there that you could take a look at. I think that beyond that also, we have kind of infinite scalability built into the architecture. So that's really something that an organization can look forward to leveraging, as they grow, as their data sets grow. And other than that, I think we have, it's really not said enough, but I think we have a great team. We have, a really, really awesome team of developers behind the product that they eat, sleep, like live and breathe this 24 hours a day. So they're very, very motivated to make sure that immuDB really is the best, immutable database that's out there.
If I just want to be very, very specific and ask, who needs, immutable database? Of course, as I said, you talked about it earlier. What are the use cases where it makes most sense? And what are the use cases people must use? It should not be an option.
Yeah, so I think the first kind of thing that comes to mind is the financial sector, right? I think they're dealing with a lot of data. They also have a lot of compliance requirements, and they're certainly security focused. So I think that this is like really right up their block. Other than that, for DevOps purposes, like I said, software development, that's a very, very interesting use case. I think there's lots of, someone did a demo of like immutable elections, basically. And I think that this is something that, politically is going to be very important in the future. So being able to work with, not just, election data, but government data in general, for them to be able to have, cryptographically verified, immutable storage of the data of, let's say, an event or of, some other like government program or whatever it is. I think that, it's very interesting there. I mean, it even goes into as far as stuff like, passing laws where the government could theoretically store the data around like a certain proposal or a certain law or whatever it is in an immutable database. And then they kind of have like an ongoing record of, this is the law, these are the amendments that were made to it over time. And then you kind of have like that chain to always look back on to see how like the body of the law evolved over time. So again, there's lots of different sectors. I can think of manufacturing where you're tracking products coming off, like a manufacturing line. And you want to be able to uniquely identify each of those products, and you want to make sure that you're saving a history of those. So it's really, I can think of 101 use cases, really.
I'll just take it one step further, not just recently, but early, it was more or less like, we used to encrypt, all this sensitive data, but now today it's like, all end-to-end traffic should be encrypted. Most of data should be even on our laptops, So do you also see there will a point come that, just, yes, making sure that nobody tampered with the whole chain, even for our emails or whatever transaction we are doing online, because and as we move to the metaverse world, we do need to make sure that whatever we created at that point, there's a stamp on that and nothing can be tampered. So my question to you is that, do you also see a future where this will become the default, just the way a lot of other things have seat belts have become default in cars?
I think in a sense, yes, because, especially when you talk about stuff like the metaverse, I think that we're already seeing a lot of activity around blockchains there. And really, blockchains are not really always the most efficient way to execute some of this stuff. Whereas immuDB offers a very similar type of functionality, but without a lot of the overhead that blockchains require. So yes, I do think, as we move towards a future where, sort of data security and integrity and verifiability are going to become more important to us in society. Yeah, absolutely. I see us as becoming, the de facto open source database for the future.
Jack, thank you so much for taking time out today. And actually, of course, you talked about the latest features, but more importantly, you talked about the need and importance and significance of immuDB, and also share how it's kind of an edge over other solutions. So thanks for those insights. And yeah, maybe soon it will become a default. It should become a default. So thanks for sharing those insights, and I'd love to have you back on the show. Thank you.
Absolutely, Swap. Thank you so much.